All right, welcome back. Slick Cyber Systems here again for another technology conversation. And Chris, Jim, Steve's not with us, but we're gonna power on through it without him. We're gonna talk about outdated technology.
I thought we were going to talk about him.
Yeah, outdated technology.
Oh, God.
So we all know, from the perspective of we're in tech, doesn't necessarily mean that like I got to get the most cutting edge,
Bleeding edge.
Yeah, oh my goodness, the new whatever just came out. Should I go to it? That's my feeling on it. I don't know. Depends on the need.
Exactly. Chris, I think that you hit the nail on the head. What is the need? To go to bleeding edge, if you've got an application that requires leading edge. Bleeding edge. The difference to me is bleeding edge is stuff that's untested, but it's ripping fast. We just don't know how reliable it's going to be.
Yeah, and you're probably bleeding money out.
And you might be bleeding money doing it. Where leading edge is, we know this is rock solid but it performs well. So and the bleeding edge is always a little bit faster, but
yeah.
So that's my definition for that, anyways.
Kind of like best in class, using something that actually makes sense to you internally to your business. Are you going to actually recoup money on it, or ROI,
or bleed money on it?
Yeah, or bleed money, or or is it one of those things that's so untested that does it work when it wants to?
Yeah.
Why? I don't know why anybody would want to install something
Crashes,
like that.
like again. But I think the bigger point tends to come into the outdated technology.
Definitely.
And that is really something that scares the living hell out of me. I'll be brutally honest. If you look at it from one thing only, security, my goodness. If you're running an outdated OS, we could rattle down, in March 2025, end of, we could start talking about Windows 7, Windows XP, Were they good OSs at the time? Absolutely they were, and they became rock solid. I got news for you, folks. Windows 10 became rock solid, even more rock solid than XP or 7 ever did.
Yeah.
And 11's going to do the same thing. So you're up against a wall. There's a precipice in October that you've got to walk through. 10's no longer supported unless you pay Microsoft for extended support, for that particular device. So it's per device. It is just good business practice. You shouldn't have to pay for extended support when Windows 11 at this point in time is a very good, rock solid OS. Is it perfect? No OS is perfect. I don't care what it is. Mac OS, Windows, Linux, there's no such thing as a perfect operating system. They're operating systems. They're always going to grow. They're always going to change. Security is security, but man, if you open yourself up to a non-supported operating system like Windows 7 today, you're putting your entire corporate data in a world of hurt.
You are definitely a target for everybody out there that has any intelligence with regard to hacking.
And the bullseye's not this big. It's the size of the sun. I mean, it's massive.
And it's glowing. It's saying, please take me.
Please help me. So, I think you've got to use some common sense there and say, first of all right, let's just even talk, shave hairs here and say that the Windows 10 and Windows 11 thing. Mm-hmm. More machines still today are right now at the end of March in 2025 are still on Windows 10 than they are on Windows 11.
Yeah.
What I don't understand is the fear factor of moving over to Windows 11. I understand there are certain circumstances. I've worked in large corporate environments. I get that. I understand it. Where, it's not that easy. We've got to do this, and all the dot the I's, cross the T's.
On those situations.
But I think most people are afraid of the dark, and it's more of the IT department's failure to embrace the future, and say, okay, we are going to get this under control. We're going to do it in the time frame that we have to do it, and just make it happen.
Yeah.
And you can make it happen. The only thing that would ever potentially limit you for that is a legacy application that absolutely positively will not run on that new environment. Now, I will say this very boldly. If it runs on Windows 10, 99.9% of the time, it will run on Windows 11.
Yeah.
There's always the hairball, right? But crawl out from under the rock and make the attempt and try to make things work. Make sure it's as stable as you can make it. But, this comes all back to the patching and all that stuff when IT departments, companies are afraid to I don't want to patch my machine. I'm afraid. You can't be. Are you afraid of patching your machine and you have a crash? Or are you afraid of patching your machine and getting hacked? Or getting a crypto? Or
some other malicious
I'd rather
thing.
have a crash and reboot the machine and have it come back up than have a crypto come in to my business. I'm the guy ultimately paying the bills. I would never make that. That's not even a trade-off for me. That's a stinking no-brainer.
Agreed.
Absolutely a no-brainer. So legacy software, those legacy applications. We should probably touch base on that for a second.
Yeah. I think that there's always going to be a need, or I don't know if there's a want. That's not necessarily a need, but there may be a need for an application that maybe it's not even made anymore. Like, see, the newest version. This little piece of software makes labels or does something else along those.
My opinion of that is, you better be starting to search for something to replace
replacement.
it. Yeah. To fall into that cybersecurity, I need to be safe.
Yeah.
Situation. Oh, and by the way, supported. Geez, if your business is reliant on a piece of software,
it's no longer.
It better darn well be supported, right?
Yeah.
Let's just say I'm just going to pick something that is, current today, QuickBooks, right? And you're running a, 7, 8-year-old version, 9-year-old version, but no longer supported. Well, it works for me. Well, that's great, but A, it's not supported. If you have a major problem, your database corrupts, whatever, you are not going to get help from Intuit. I'm telling you, right now you won't. We run enterprise version of that software, and when we go, if we decided to go out of that realm, we would not get supported at enterprise level. It's buku dollars, a year. At least buku for the size of our company,
for that software.
right? For the Intuit side. But it's a painful bill to see, but it's part of doing business. I need to make sure that we're current. We have the most, secure environment that we possibly can, and productive environment that we can. So I think it's in anyone's best interest that owns or runs a business or has anything to do with that business to be able to say, this legacy crap got to go.
Yeah, well, you at least have to have like a timeline, like a realistic expectation of when I need a new laptop. You're like, I don't have the budget.
Right.
Okay, well, is the budget realistic in the next 6 months? Yes. Is it in the next 3 months? No. 4 or 5? Yeah. By 6 months, though, we're going to need a new laptop. That's kind of one of the part that I wanted to talk about. You had mentioned security and software, but I think the poor performance really comes down to more about gear that you've had forever, like a laptop, computer, or whatever.
And poor performance does nothing more than hinder your ability for production.
Yeah, definitely.
Your people aren't working as fast. No. You're not working as fast. Everything's slow. You're waiting on this, waiting on that. That to me is unacceptable. There's so much to do.
People are worried about what a lot of times you hear about money, but it's like, what are you paying them to not
what are you
literally
losing?
Slow down?
What are you losing in productivity in the course of a day, week, month, year? Of that loss of productivity that you may have,
you already paid for it that way.
20% more done just because you bought a $2,000 machine or $1,500 machine. That to me is just crazy.
If you need new gear, put it in the timeline and get it into the budget, make it happen.
Absolutely, and that goes same thing for software. And software tends to be the more painful side.
Yes,
by the way.
But licensing and such. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, and listen, every business feels that. We feel that every day of the week, month, year. But it is part of doing business, and you need to, in my opinion, you should lock that in and say that this is is a cost of doing business, and it goes, into the flow, your cash flow, and it just happens to be. Get better at everything that you do. When you're more productive, and everything is top notch and running fast, you're going to be far more profitable than you will be if sticking with the old stuff.
I'd say,
my opinion. I've seen it firsthand.
I agree. I'd say part of this other discussion that we don't have is a lot of businesses, until they get to a certain size or understand that the planning piece of replacement or the next steps, budgeting, it is something you should be working with, whoever your IT department is or your external provider, so that they understand where you're at, and then they also
what you need.
From the IT side, well, this is where you're at, but these are the glaring holes we see. All these devices need to be changed, or new licenses are up, or whatever's going to happen. We need to discuss this.
Right, and a good MSP not only knows the IT part, they know your business as well.
Yep.
They're going to dive deep with you to understand your business, so they can get their head. Look, we're business owners as well. I mean, we understand what it's like to run a business.
Every business is unique.
There's cost.
Everybody's unique. Everybody has their own way of doing things, their process.
So doggone it. I mean, it just again, a good MSP is going to understand the business. I mean,
they're going to be a partner in the success of your business. That's the most important part.
You win, we win. That easy.
Yeah. So if you got old tech, plan to get it out. Old software, replace it. If you don't know what to do, you're like, some people get fear of, like you said, fear of the dark. Fear of the dark, fear what's new, or the deer in the headlights. I don't know what to do. I'm so scared. Call someone else.
Confused.
Yeah, confused. Well, scared, the whole thing. Which way do I go? What do I do? Call someone that can actually help you. They can do. We can do free assessments and say, this is where you're at. Did you know everything's great except for this, or you have a couple of things you should be watching out. They're coming down the road, and the next year.
Right.
You should understand that, and someone like ourselves has the ability to work with you to give you at that timeline, that potential threat, those those things that when you're running the business, you're running the business. You're not looking at those things. They just kind of sneak up and get you if you're not working with somebody, if your IT department's not savvy enough to understand that.
Correct. Enough said.
Enough said.
Thank you so much for watching the video, and we'll catch you in the next video. You can reach us at 570-215-8888, or go visit slickcybersystems.com. And we have chat mechanisms there. Our phone number's posted there. We have forums posted there for email. We can get back to you. You have questions, ask. We'd be more than happy to pick up the phone and speak with you.
Yep. No obligation.
Just
ask us the question.
Talk.
If we don't know the answer, we're obviously going to push you to the right person if it's not in our wheelhouse.
Right. Exactly. But we probably will.
Yeah.
Everybody, take care. We'll see you in the next video. Be good. If you find this content helpful, please like the video, subscribe, and share with your friends and your colleagues. Thank you.